1 year ago, I uploaded the first Exocolony devlog. In this video, I'm going to recap what happened during this period of time, why I started this project, and how I plan to continue the game and also this YouTube channel. So, fasten your seatbelts and get ready for takeoff, because we are traveling back in the year 2020. In the summer of 2020, I started this YouTube channel to document my progress on a horror roguelike game called Lake Misfit. At that time, I already worked for over a year on this game, and I uploaded a whole lot of 2 devlogs until I came to the realization that I have to leave this project behind me for several reasons. The main reason being the fact that the scope of this project was way too big and it would take me at least 1 more year to get to a point at which the game would actually be fun to play. Since I had and still have a day job and several other hobbies, there's only a certain amount of time each week I can allow myself to work on my hobby game projects and YouTube. So I was in need of a new project, but I did not know what I wanted to make next. It was during this time that I played 2 games a lot, Littlewood and Astroneer. Littlewood is a super cute and wholesome fantasy life sim / town building game with a really minimalistic but still very aesthetic pixel art visual style. Astroneer is a sandbox science fiction exploration game in which you travel to different planets to harvest resources, set up production lines and all kinds of machinery. I enjoyed both of these games a lot, and I'm sure it was no coincidence that I've come up with the idea to create a game that's something between both of them. The idea was to create a game which on one side would also have a very minimalistic pixel art style like Littlewood, and on the other side, some of the game mechanics I enjoyed in Astroneer, like harvesting resources, production lines and discovering weird and unknown planets. So, the idea for Exocolony was born. Before I wrote the first line of code, I decided to make a pixel art mockup in Sprite to get a hang of how the game could possibly look like. I tried to pin down a pixel art style which would look somewhat charming, but is also easy to produce. A big problem with Lake Misfit was that the pixel art style was a bit too detailed for my limited art skills and it took me way too much time to get something nice looking done. Now, I tried to keep everything more simple and I had a good feeling about it. After I felt good about the visual style of the game, I opened Unity and started to implement the very first prototype. It contained player movement, harvesting stone resources and, of course, the conveyor belts, which was somewhat of the centerpiece. Getting the conveyor belts to work right was not an easy task, but in the end, it was really cool to see them working and transporting resources around at this early point of development. After they were implemented, I went into Adobe Premiere and edited the very first Exocolony devlog. To my surprise, it did quite well, especially in comparison to my first videos. So, with this boost of motivation, I went straight into the process of adding more features to the game. For my second devlog, I added trees and grass to the game, but more importantly, drones, whose job is to move items from one conveyor belt to another. They were really cool and I already had a lot of fun playing around with these very basic features after just 1 month of working on the game. And to my delight, the second devlog did even better than the first one. During the month of November 2020, my channel grew from 30 subs to over 250 subscriptions, which was super cool and just added to my motivation working on more features and videos. For the third devlog, I added smelting factories to the game, which are there to take raw stone resources and refine them into stone bricks. These factories were the obvious evolution of all the features I added to Exocolony so far. After that, I wanted to add something which was a bit more on the Littlewood side of game design and not so much centered around automation and production lines. So, for devlog number 4, in January 2021, I designed and added the first alien animal to the game. The mighty alien cow. Around this time, I was able to hit the milestone of 500 subscribers on YouTube and I really never felt more encouraged to continue working on something. It was a blast to see people enjoy watching what I'm doing, and it was this encouragement which helped me to get through the more frustrating parts of game development and programming. And this was very important, because the next major feature I was going to implement turned out to be a complicated one: the power system. I thought that every part of machinery in the game should only work when it's connected to a power grid, which then has to provide enough energy for all the systems. For power sources, my idea was to go with solar panels and windmills, because renewable energies are cool and both technologies can only work under certain circumstances. So there's also a good reason to have a smart mix of both types. After a lot of bug fixing and fiddling around, I was able to get the first iteration of the power system working. And around this time I also started to hold a feature vote on my Discord server for every new video. So every devlog I would now add a smaller feature or piece of content voted by the community on my Discord server. The first one I added was the wood factory, which would do what the smelting factory does to stone, but to wood. The second vote result told me to add a winter biome to the game, and I dedicated the whole 6th devlog to this task. I made a lot of new art, added an ice resource and also living snowman to the game. For the 7th devlog in March 2021, I started to tackle the problem of non-returnable resources. If the player destroys all the stone resources on the map, there are, obviously, no more stones to destroy, and so I decided to add a mining machine which would dig for new stones and spawns them around itself. Also, the 3rd Discord feature vote result asked me to add witches to the game, so I did exactly that. After the 7th devlog, I was able to surpass another big milestone on my YouTube channel, 1000 subscribers. This made me really happy. Exocolony started to take shape and so many people decided to join me on my little game dev journey. How great is that? It was during spring of 21 that I played a lot of Stardew Valley, which definitely inspired my next development sprint and the 8th devlog because I decided to add a fishing minigame to Exocolony. This was maybe not the smartest decision, since this feature is very isolated and does not yet synergize with the rest of the game, but I thought it was important, so it's there. At this point of development, I realized two things. The first one was that I needed to slow down a bit with adding more stuff to the game and better try to refactor and polish the features which are already there. The second one was that I wanted to give the art of the game a makeover. I did like the minimal art style, but I thought that it could do a bit better, especially when it came to trees and stones. So for the 9th Exocolony devlog, I repainted a lot of the old sprites and I think it improved the visual aesthetic of the game a lot. I also implemented a day and night cycle, so the solar panels only work during the day and not when it's nighttime. Also, the 3rd Exocolony alien animal was born. The one and only alien chicken. Isn't it cute? Since I decided to spend more time on refactoring existing systems, development slowed down during the summer of this year, but this did not prevent me from working on new stuff. During the month of June and for the 10th devlog, I added a really necessary crafting feature in the form of a crafting factory. This was also around the time I was able to hit my latest YouTube milestone, 2000 subscribers. Thanks to all of you lovely people who made this possible. For the 11th devlog, which I uploaded in August, I finally added a proper building mode. Until then, the player could just place buildings right in front of the player's avatar, but now it was finally possible to build in easy mode. I have to say though, it's not finished yet, because it is only possible to build 1x1 tile buildings. After the 11th devlog, it took me another 2 months to finish the latest bigger feature, the jetpack. Oh, and I also added clowns, rain, and a neat little water shader over the last 3 months. So that's where we are at the moment. A lot has happened over the last 12 months. And I did not only work on Exocolony features and videos, I also participated in a lot of game jams and made a super small Halloween game just because I wanted to. Now, what can you expect on this channel in the next 12 months? Definitely more Exocolony devlogs, that's for sure. But since I will need to spend more and more time on refactoring systems and adding boring stuff like a save feature for example, the Exocolony devlogs will spread further apart. My next bigger goal is to get the game to a state where I can release an alpha version for all of you people to test. But this requires a lot of boring work, which is not really cool to show off in a video. And since I also cannot just work on one project in my free time, because this would lead me to burn out on Exocolony, I will also continue to participate in game jams and develop smaller games, which I will of course also present in future devlogs. So I guess you can expect a good mix of Exocolony devlogs and other videos about game jam entries and side projects. And if I'm super lucky, I'll keep hitting YouTube milestones like I did last year. If you want to help me with that, please consider subscribing to this channel. We will see each other soon in another video on this channel. Until then, have a good time and goodbye!